Hey guys, so we made it back home here in Washington, and we wanted to talk to you guys about our experience driving in the road, living in the van full time, and some of the things that we've learned by doing it.
So just to give you a little context, we decided to take a short trip to kind of test out our van and just see what it was like living in it full time and what sort of problems or challenges would come up and things that we might need to change. And so our goal was basically just to drive down as far south in California as we could so we could try to get to some warm weather. So we were gone for about a week and we just wanted to share our experience with you.
So the first couple of days, we did a lot of driving since we wanted to get down to California as soon as possible because we needed to come back for the holidays, so we were kind of in a time crunch. During that time, we learned a few things, and first of all, we learned that our van doesn't do well in hills or any type of incline, so it might be because of the weight. So we're looking into having that adjusted to our van.
So then we had the challenge of finding different places to park. So for the night, so some nights we stayed like just in the city, like on a side street, just like stealth parking, camping.
Yeah.
And then one night we stayed like in a Home Depot parking lot, which was interesting because I'm a super light sleeper and there was just like people yelling outside and like the wind was really strong and it was like shaking the whole van. And of course, like he's just like dead asleep, sleeping through all of this. And I'm just like freaking out the whole night. But we survived. It wasn't the end of the world. And then we've had some other nights where we slept like more quiet places, like some pull-offs on the side of some of the highways. Like we slept by a lake one time, which was really quiet. Like there was no one out there. And then other times, just like driving like through Big Sur and stuff, like we stopped at pull-offs. And I mean, it was somewhat noisy when cars were driving by, but throughout the night there wasn't that many cars. So it wasn't bad at all, and we got good views and stuff like that. So it wasn't really hard for us to find places to park.
And we also use the app iOverlander a lot, so we recommend that if you're also doing van life first time. It's really helpful. So during our trip, we were able to sleep in a national forest. It was a really rough road getting up to our campsite. Everything in the van was shaking, and we have our gray water tank underneath the van with a bunch of plumbing, so we were always worried about that, of the clearance. But it actually did fine, and we were able to get to the campsite without anything falling off, so that was great. But we did learn some very valuable things during our night there. For example, we learned that our plumbing system really does need a lot of fixing because we've had problems throughout our trip with draining our sink and draining our shower. But during that night, we were at the National Forest. We were a little bit more of a tilt than other places, so we've experienced things not draining a lot more often, and even having some water from a sink coming back up to our shower. So that was all gross.
So one of the other challenges that we had to deal with throughout our trip was finding water and places to drain our gray water tank. So finding water wasn't actually that difficult for us. We were able to do we were able to fill up our like collapsible water jugs, like from like places like grocery stores had little stations where you could buy water there. And then we could fill it up into our van with our drill pump that way. Other times we were able to just get free water from like campsites and stuff with the hose fill up. And then worst case scenario, we were able to just go to gas stations and they had free water. It just takes like forever to fill up our tank that way. So some of the things that we learned about our van from living in it for a week It's just like the, I guess, lack of storage that we have makes it a little bit difficult because we have the bed up top, so we lose the cabinets on each side up above. And our benches are pretty full with stuff already because we have our like 40-gallon water tank.
And electrical stuff.
And electrical stuff takes up a lot of space. So it's just a little bit trickier to find a way to store everything. So for the first trip, I didn't really get to spend a lot of time, trying to put things in a certain way. But that's something that I want to work on now so that things are a little bit more functional when we leave for our next road trip.
So now that we've actually experienced living in the van full time for a week, we have a little bit better sense of things that are still left to do. For example, we pretty much have to redo our plumbing system, or a lot of it, so that it can drain properly and not have backflow issues. So we're gonna do that. There were also a couple things that we didn't get the chance to do before we left, like installing our TV mount and swivel seats and just organization and all, so that we can easily get things to. But overall, besides the negative stuff that happened to us, personally, I really like the lifestyle. I like the freedom that it allows us to have. We can be anywhere we want, and we were able to find a lot of beach areas and be in the beach a lot, which is something that we really enjoy. So I really like it, and I'm looking forward to making our home a lot better to just be more comfortable in.
Yeah. And I think that taking the short trip was definitely like really worth it for us to get a feel for it and figure out what we needed to change. Because if we had just like taken off and like planned to be gone for a long time and like all these problems came up, we would have had a lot more trouble figuring out how to deal with them. But since we have this time to kind of make some revisions and then get going again, I think things will run a lot smoother. Hopefully. And so I definitely recommend to anyone that's maybe trying out van life or living in an RV for the first time, like do a small test trip to see how things are going, and then you'll really learn by doing, basically. So.
Yeah. Okay. So we're currently working on a van tour video. We haven't really released one because our van is not fully finished. Like we mentioned, we're still working on some of these last minute things, but we're close to having it being all there. So keep an eye out for our van tour, which should be coming soon. Hit that subscribe button so you see it when it comes out. And then if you like this video, hit that like button too. We'll see you next time.
JJ! You hurry up!